Ladies and gentlemen, hello and good evening, and welcome to the Fightful Select 205 Live NXT UK recap show right here, available to you all on FightfulSelect.com. You wonderful, extraordinary people who have decided to become members of this exciting service that supports directly Fightful.com, which you already know about, I'm sure, premier news source for all your combat sports news. And Fightful Selects gives you all the extra content you could ever imagine. Why go anywhere else? I have no idea why you would do that. By the way, I'm Mr. Warren Hayes, in case you're wondering. I do this every week. I do this live. You know, and this week I was a little preempted. We had to push back a little because I usually do these on Wednesdays right after NXT UK, but this week I had just a couple of issues I had to handle. Nothing serious. We're here on Friday though, doing this live for a big crowd here of FightfulSelect.com members. And we want to thank you for being here. If this is your first time watching, because the subscription count has been going crazy. So if this is the first time that you folks have been watching, welcome. We're going to talk about the top three, the top 3 hours of WWE weekly programming. And usually what we do first and foremost is the first and foremost thing that we do is talk about some news. Whenever there's some news bites that happen concerning these shows, we're going to talk about them. And one of the good things about doing this today on the Friday is that earlier today, WWE.com released the official graphic, I guess, as opposed to the poster, the official graphic on WWE.com for TakeOver New York, NXT TakeOver New York, and featured on the graphic on the left side, you have Johnny Gargano and Adam Cole, who will be fighting for the NXT championship. But on the right side, you'll have the 4 women of the Fatal 4-Way: Shayna Baszler, NXT Women's Champion, Bianca Belair, Io Shirai, and who am I missing? Kairi, right? Kairi Sane. You see all 4 of those women, but some eagle-eyed people out there who realize, who scrutinize the image, realize we're able to find that there are ladders amongst the buildings, because all the champions, all the participants, they're all like huge, like kaiju monsters throughout the city and across the buildings. And throughout the buildings, there are ladders, but the ladders are just on the women's side. So are we going to get a ladder match to just amp up everything here on that Fatal 4-Way? Oh, it hasn't been officially announced yet. And as you know, I stay far away from spoilers on my program right here. So, and I myself stay far away from spoilers. So there's a fair chance that I myself don't even know what the answer is, folks. But it's still very interesting. We saw Oni Lorcan debut as a member of 205 Live this week. Apparently he's now gone from NXT. I'll talk about that in a little bit. We also had the usual media call that Triple H does whenever during the week of a takeover, and Triple H discussed the Tommaso Ciampa's injury, basically saying that WWE was already aware of the injury, but we're trying to help him work through it, so that with the situation with the call-ups between him and Gargano and Aleister Black and Ricochet, that he could get a little bit of shine here. And he flat out said that that WWE was aware of it. He said, basically said, we knew that this is Triple H talking, I'm quoting Triple H. We knew it was going to be a necessity going forward, but the decision was made of, let's do this with the main roster. Let's give him that exposure. He'll take some time off, get fixed up, and be back better than ever. Unfortunately, with the type of injury he had, it went from one thing to another very rapidly. It changed from being manageable to being something that it was not a risk we were willing to take for anything. So we moved to him immediately doing the surgery. So Tommaso Ciampa is out for, as you know, with a very, very big, huge neck injury. He's been operated on. We don't know how long he's going to be out, but we wish him the best. And WWE also this week announced another edition of their Worlds Collide event during WrestleMania Access this week. The Worlds Collide event will have competitors from all the brands competing in special attraction matches during WrestleMania Access. You'll have the NXT versus NXT alumni. So you'll have like Roderick Strong versus Tyler Breeze. You'll have Dominic Dijakovic versus Harper, and Sanity versus Undisputed Era. You know, we haven't seen Sanity all that much on main. It's kind of weird to consider them alumni. You know what I mean? Then there'll be a cruiserweight attraction match as well. There'll be some more NXT UK tapings, and oh my God, I hope the production value is better for this Access than the one that they shot in Phoenix, where we had to sit through for like 3 to 4 weeks. The production value was terrible, and it was so painful to watch, especially when you consider how beautiful the venues that they use in NXT UK are. That was ridiculous. So I hope it's a lot better. You'll have some Superstar Battle Royals. You'll even have a Women's Collide show. Well, you'll have matches including Io Shirai versus Sonya Deville. Toni Storm versus Nikki Cross, Bianca Belair, Piper Niven versus Zelina Vega and Candice. Toni Storm versus Nikki Cross versus Bianca Belair, Piper Niven versus Zelina Vega. Poor Zelina. She's gonna get eaten alive. And Candice LeRae versus Kylie Ray. I gotta tell you guys, I'm really just for the Women's Collide event in and about itself. That's really, really exciting. That's some good shit, pal. So there we go. Let's jump right in then. So of course, all of these little news tidbits that I talked about, you can go take a look at it over on FightfulSelect.com, written up by such fightful luminaries as Jeremy Lambert. He's French. Jeremy Lambert. Let's go. Let's just go. Kylie Ray, right? I think I mispronounced. Kylie Ray. Kaylee Ray. I'm sorry. I'm having trouble pronouncing. It's Friday night. Maybe a little sip of water will do it. There we go. I want to say hello to everyone in the chat. So glad you guys are here. Let's get right to it. 205 Live, folks, starts off with the Lucha House Party versus the Submission Commission and Humberto Carrillo. So it's a proper 205 Live that begins because Lucha House Party are there kicking it off. Kalisto has the microphone to cut a promo, and Vic for some reason says, well, this is a treat. Why is it a treat for Kalisto to have a microphone in his hands and cut a promo? Kalisto, who is infamous for his disastrous promo, maybe was that kind of like, was that a rib? Anyway, it's not much of a promo where Kalisto says it's lucha time, and then all three guys strike like a Power Rangers pose. I guess that's what they're going for. So then the Submission Commission come out with Humberto Carrillo, and Humberto is acting like a babyface as he enters, of course, as opposed to his partners. And the match starts with Carrillo versus Grand Metalik, some lucha style dragging to begin with. Arm drag, snapmare variations, wrist locks, reversals, evasiveness, and there's a big, it's a stalemate between the two, between Carrillo and Metalik. And I kind of felt it went on a little too long as far as ending up with a stalemate went. But finally, Drew Gulak tags himself and just slaps Carrillo when he's close enough to the ropes, and he says, "Get out of here." That's what he told him. What's what he told him? He said, "Get out of here! I told you to keep your feet on the mat, man." So so Gulak gets in. He eats a drop kick by Metalik. Gallagher interferes, but both guys end up on the apron. Metalik gets helped up by Lince Dorado. They hit a pop-up shotgun drop kick on both guys. And then all three members of Lucha House Party do some showboating. They bounce off the ropes and each take like a wacky superhero pose. Them's are all the rage now. Now that Aleister Black and Ricochet are doing it. So there's a lot of double teaming that occurs. There's a double team situation where Metalik grabs the piñata. Okay, he has the piñata in his hands, and he's on the top rope, and he sort of jumps down off the top rope onto Gulak, but he's holding the piñata. Like, he doesn't actually use the piñata, and the way he lands, it looked kind of awkward. Like, I'm kind of thinking, there was something else that was supposed to happen here. It looked a little weird, and the piñata doesn't really serve any purpose. Lince comes in, hits a springboard spinning body press on Drew Gulak, covers him but only gets 2. Kalisto does the Lucha Tower. Metalik walks the ropes and hits a drop kick on Gulak. He covers him, but the cover doesn't even get 2. Lince is in and gets distracted by Gallagher, which allows Drew Gulak to drop kick the luchador. Gulak then distracts the ref while Gallagher goes after Lince. And Lince, at this point now in the match, is your baby face in peril. Safe and sound on the ground as Gallagher locks Lince up with a headlock. Gulak then comes back in. He chops Lince, covers him, but only gets 2. Lince then whips Gulak, and Lince jumps, sort of like maybe a leapfrog, but it doesn't matter because Drew Gulak grabs him and slams him down to the mat. A big lariat follows, covers Lince, but only gets 2. Lince then tags out to Metalik, who flies through the air, but eats a strike by Gallagher. Right in proper. Gallagher then tries to take off Metalik's mask for some reason. A flying kick by Carrillo, who comes in, follows, covers, but only gets 2. Gulak calls out. He says, you didn't have to go and jump. It didn't have to be a flying kick. You could have just kicked him right there and it would have been just as effective. He's not entirely wrong, you know. I like this dynamic they have going because Gulak makes sense in this situation. We'll move on a little further in the match here. We'll head on closer towards the end, where we'll actually head right into the end here, where Humberto goes to the top rope to take Kalisto out, but Gulak doesn't want him to leave his feet. Safe and sound on the ground. Don't you do it. And that's what he's telling Humberto. He says, don't you do it. And he takes him down off the top turnbuckle. And he says, you have to do this my way. And Humberto was arguing with him. He says, let me do my job. And all of this distraction allows Kalisto to hit the Salida del Sol on Carrillo and get the win. So guess what we are here? Guess what we're doing here? We are seeing the seeds of eventually a feud between Drew Gulak, of course, and Carrillo. That's been set since day one, but it's nice to see this dynamic. I actually hope they stretch this out a bit because I really, really I'm a big fan of Drew Gulak's character work. He's very, very convincing, and I think he's a good foil for Carrillo right now. Got a big house in the chat tonight. Nice to see everyone. Tim, JPQ, Kristen, Ashley, Shane Haas. Good to see everyone. We have Mike and Maria Canales. I was about to say Maria because I've been doing my Spanish R rolls. Almost did it. So basically, Mike and Maria Canales are backstage, and they're confronted by Drake Maverick, who says, they're following up on what happened last week, where Mike Canales defeated Akira Tozawa. Maybe with some interference with by Maria Kanellis, but you can't, you don't dwell on those details. But next week, they're going to have a rematch, they being Mike Kanellis and Akira Tozawa. And if Mike wants to bring Maria to ringside, that's fine. But Akira Tozawa is going to have the Brian Kendrick, not the Brian Kendrick, the Brian Kendrick in his corner. So that's fantastic. Buddy Murphy is at the PC in Orlando, and he's cutting a promo on Tony Nese. He's calling him all sorts of garbage names, and he says, "You're not here, Tony, because I'm 10 steps. Yeah, I'm 10 steps ahead of you. You know, I'm so smart you didn't think about coming to the Performance Center, but Tony Nese blindsides him. He wasn't 10 steps ahead. What are you talking about, you ding dong, you Australian cuckoo guy? Tony Nese is on top of it. He blindsides Murphy and they brawl. That leads us into our main event of the night. Cedric Alexander versus Arya Daivari. They both hit the ring, but before they actually can start, Oney Lorcan's music hits. Now, Oney Lorcan is now officially a member of 205 Live. Now, I'm big on Oney Lorcan. I like Oney Lorcan. He's a good guy, and I like him. I got to tell you folks, I'm a little disappointed that they're breaking up Lorcan and Birch over on NXT UK, not UK, but just on plain old NXT. Kind of breaks my heart because they had a good thing going with that team. You know, two guys which I don't think like as fantastic workers as they are. You know, I really do believe that they had a better future as a tag team. Now they're splitting it up. I'm kind of bummed. Man, 2018, that ocular bone injury that Lorcan got, that's a shame. It's such a shame. Because it derailed everything for Lorcan and Birch. They were in the middle of a push. It's such a shame. A shame. So anyway, Lorcan comes to the ringside and he grabs a chair and he sits down next to the commentary table. He takes his jacket off and he drapes it over the commentary table, and it looks innocuous little thing to do, but oh, what repercussions later on in the match. No spoilers. So we start the match with some arm drags by Daivari, who takes Cedric Alexander down. He shoulder blocks him down as well, runs the ropes, goes to punch Alexander, who's on the ground, but he rolls out of the way. Cedric takes him down with a headlock. Daivari reverses out of it, but Cedric takes him down with another headlock. But Daivari reverses out of it. So Cedric Alexander takes him down with another headlock. There's a forearm to the side of the head of Daivari, who falls straight down like a sack of potatoes. Drop kick by Cedric follows, and Alexander starts staring at Lorcan. He's a little distracted, and Lorcan, he's prime, man. He's like his blood pressure is it's maxing out right now. His veins are bulging out of his head so bad that they might burst. Okay, I apologize for trying to make I really tried to make a creative analogy. Thank you for listening. So Alexander gets distracted all on his own, just wondering what Lorcan is doing out there, and that distraction, or his lack of focus anyway, allows Daivari to leg sweep Cedric off the apron, and Alexander falls to the floor. Back in the ring, Daivari rams Cedric into the corner, some body shots, some straight punches to the face. Cedric fights back, but eats a big lariat by Daivari, covers him, but only gets two. Oney is seething on the outside. He's like, his knuckles are white, and he's primed for something. He's just waiting. He's just waiting for an excuse. Daivari stays in control with chin locks, keeping Cedric from reversing. And commentary, by the way, here, commentary is talking about how Daivari is helping. He spent his entire career helping out other wrestlers, I think is how they put it. Which, obviously harkens back to Enzo and more recently to Hideo Itami. And now it's his time, he's doing his own thing right here. So I like how they're referencing the past without exactly specifically talking about specific wrestlers, especially Enzo. Daivari avoids a lumbar check and delivers a super kick on Cedric that sends all of the spit out of Alexander's mouth. All of it. Like Cedric Alexander could easily challenge Batista for the amounts of spit. He hits another kick to Cedric's head and then a twisting reverse DDT on Alexander. He goes for $1 million dream, but Cedric counters out of it. Daivari then eats a kick himself and enziguri, and he gets clotheslined down. A knee to the gut follows, and a messy hesitation drop kick by Cedric Alexander follows. Next up is a flatliner. Daivari gets covered, but only gets 2. Cedric does that springboard something that usually gets countered, and he gets countered again. Gets hung up on the top rope by Daivari, who does a cross-arm bar bomb. Just flipping him over the top of his head to the mat, covers him, but only gets 2. Daivari is frustrated, and both guys start trading strikes. And Cedric even tears apart his wife beater. Daivari's wife beater just tears it right off of him so the strikes can extra hurt. Daivari starts fighting back with a kick, though. With the kicks and more strikes, Daivari goes up top and hits the frog splash, covers, but only gets 2. A hammerlock lariat is reversed into a crucifix by Cedric Alexander, but Daivari kicks out at 2. Daivari goes to the outside. A topic on Hilo by Cedric follows. Cedric then struggles to get back up to his feet, so he uses the commentary table to sort of lift himself up, and as he does, he slides Oney Lorcan's jacket off the table. Oney Lorcan that had draped his jacket on top of it. And Oney is pissed. He gets right into Cedric Alexander's face. He grabs his jacket and says, "What are you doing? This is my jacket." Cedric's like, "What the hell, man? I'm in the middle of the match and you're talking about your jacket?" But this distraction allows Daivari to get the pin on Cedric Alexander. So what we've learned here is that Cedric Alexander is easily distractible by shiny objects, and don't touch Oney Lorcan's stuff. This is what we've learned from this episode of 205 Live. Do people still feud over articles of clothing? Like if there was a cowboy in the WWE and someone stomped his hat, is that enough of a feud? Does that indicate a feud? Does that lead us? Is that a proper build-up to a WrestleMania fight? It feels very old school. Anyway, they brawl to the outside. They being Oney and Cedric Alexander. Officials come in. To break them apart. And Oney Lorcan's like, "Yeah, okay, that's fine. That's fine. You can let me go. You can let me go. That's fine. I'm all right. I'm okay." But he's not okay because he cheap shots Cedric right in the noggin, knocks him straight out cold. Now, who was the official who let Oney Lorcan go? Oney Lorcan was seething at ringside for the better part of the match. Who let him go? Who believed him that he was okay? It was Fit Finlay. Fit Finlay, the same Fit Finlay who let Becky Lynch insert herself into the Royal Rumble and completely change the outcome of the next 3 to 4 months of wrestling leading up to WrestleMania. Fit Finlay is the loose cannon, folks. He is the loosest cannon of all WWE officials. We've even got our pal Anthony here. Look at that. A whole bunch of folks tonight. So that was 205 Live. Let's skip on over to NXT, which started off with a promo this evening. Started with Adam Cole and Johnny Gargano trading barbs in the ring. Cole comes to the ring first, and he, basically says he's going to win at TakeOver New York, and why wouldn't he? So he calls Johnny Gargano out to the ring. Johnny Gargano obliges. His music hits. He hits the ring, and there's no more inner turmoil. There's no more conflict in regards to Johnny and who he is and where he's at now. He's playing to the crowd. He's a good guy again. There's some really big dueling Gargano, Johnny wrestling, Adam Cole chants. But I mean big. And the guys, they let the audience chant for a while. Like they let that one sink in. But then at some point, Adam Cole says, for the record, I can win this championship without your support. I don't need you people. Wasn't exactly that he said, but that's what he meant. I mean, good for Adam Cole to try and get some heat on himself. But can Adam Cole really get heel heat? Like, I mean, real heel heat. People like him too much. Gargano says he has a million actually, Adam Cole had said that he has a million reasons why he's going to win at a TakeOver, and Johnny Gargano asks him to list them, which Adam Cole, of course, doesn't, and Gargano accuses Adam Cole of not of being at a loss for words, kind of like me. Gargano says that his path ends with him becoming NXT champion, and now it goes through you, Adam Cole. At Barclays Center, I'll show you why they call me Johnny Takeover. And Cole gets a chuckle. I kind of scoffed at that as well. He says, you're not exactly part of the winner's circle when it comes to TakeOver victories, Johnny. It would be more appropriate to call you Johnny Participation. I like that because it has zero ring to it. Like it's not a good name on any level. Johnny Participation. It does not roll off the tongue. It doesn't roll off anything. It rolls off a cliff and dies. That's what it does. So Cole continues and says, Johnny Participation cannot beat Adam Cole 2 out of 3 falls. And here's why. Because I was the first to become North American champion at TakeOver. The first War Games TakeOver in WWE history, I won. And at my debut, I beat down Drew McIntyre, and I did it at TakeOver at the Barclays Center. And he says, how fitting is it to return to Barclays and beat you in the process of becoming NXT champion? And what has Johnny TakeOver done to earn this match? Oh, well, Johnny Gargano did not like this. He recounted his history where he had his takeout in 2000. His takeout. He probably had takeout in 2015. I would say perhaps he had maybe some pad thai that evening. Maybe he and Candice felt like having a little Thai food. Maybe he had a pad thai. Maybe Candice had a nice pho soup. And but no, what I'm trying to say is that he had his start in 2015. He had his tryout in 2015, and he was told no for all the usual reasons. He doesn't have the size, doesn't have that it factor, and then he was tossed into a match with a guy he didn't know, DIY, Tommaso Ciampa, in the Dusty Classic, and they were, go out there and do your stuff, and they did their best, and then they kept calling him back. And why did they keep calling him back? Because he poured his heart into every match he got there to get to the top. And unlike Adam Cole, he doesn't need a bunch of cronies to get wins. So he'll fight for his destiny, and his destiny is to become NXT champion. His music hits. Adam Cole sort of mumbles away until he stops midway in the ramp, up the ramp. He turns around and he says, still has his microphone, he says, what an inspirational story. Here's the deal. You can fight and scratch and claw, but when we leave the Barclays Center, Adam Cole will be the next, will be NXT champion. And here's why. And he sort of does one of these. Looks over his shoulder, you know, sort of. And the lads come out. The rest of Undisputed Era. Bobby Fish, Kyle O'Reilly, Roderick Strong. So, a bad omen, ill tidings for our boy Johnny Gargano, who has no backup except his wife. Although, you know what? I would be down for Kyle O'Reilly and Candice LeRae fighting each other. So, oh, and Adam Cole ends the promo saying that Triple H said that the 2 out of 3 falls would be, said it will be definitive. It won't be definitive. It will be undisputed. There you go. Next, we had Vanessa Bourne and Aaliyah versus Lacey Lane and Kacy Catanzaro, both Lane and Catanzaro with their debut matches, their debut match, I should say, on NXT TV. And, you know, let's just cut to the chase. Wasn't much of a match. You know, yeah, Lacey Lane looked good. She did get some offense in. She did a rope walk, springboard arm drag. But there was a lot of double teaming by Bourne and Aaliyah. Which I enjoyed. I think they're really committing to the tag team thing, which I thought was great. But Shayna Baszler, Marina Shafir, and Jessamine Duke come out, and Bourne and Aaliyah realize that Baszler and her crew are coming, so they just sort of squirm out of the ring. They hit the bricks. I'm like, we're out of here, man. We're not sticking around. We know what's going to happen. And Duke basically, she elbows Catanzaro off the apron. Shayna knees Lacey Lane off the apron. And Kacy Catanzaro gets back in, and she gets put into the Kirifuda clutch. But Kacy fights out. Scrappy little Kacy Catanzaro fights out. She drop kicks Baszler in the knee. Catanzaro tries to fight off the other 2 women as best she can, but you're not going to escape Shayna Baszler that easily. It's her division. She is the Queen of Spades, and she puts Kacy in a Kirifuda clutch until she can't take it no more. You know, it wasn't so bad as far as angles go. Like, you know, make sure that we continue to make Shayna Baszler as dominant as she is. That's absolutely fine. I thought Lacey Lane looked good for the bit of offense that she got in, and Catanzaro, well, it was more part of an angle, the stuff that she got going. But you can tell WWE has a lot of they're putting a lot of stock into Catanzaro, and you know, she's extremely charismatic. She'll connect. She connects really easily with the crowd. You know, give her maybe another year training at the PC. They have a bona fide primo talent on their hands with Catanzaro. As long as if they keep using her like this for now, I don't know if it's because they feel that she's not ready or not. As long as she's put into situations where she's not exposed as being a little too green or whatever, she'll be fine. Anyway, Shayna leaves Catanzaro in the ring, and she goes over to commentary, and she says to commentary that this will keep happening as long as the champ gets mistreated. Next, we have Matt Riddle versus my favorite wrestler. He's not my favorite wrestler. The Finest, Kona Reeves, who has headphones now because he has to block out the noise. And he starts the match by slapping Matt Riddle, and that's not necessarily a good idea. Reeves with some punches on Riddle, knees to the midsection. Riddle sweeps Reeves off his feet, and he eats and he delivers his running senton on Kona Reeves, who's on all fours. Gut wrench suplex follows, and out comes Velveteen Dream, laid back on the couch, on the comfiest looking couch, pushed out by two ladies, and he has a goblet in his hand. He's laid out, he's sprawled out, and he has, of course, the North American title. Then he's sprawled out like he's a Greek god. I thought that was fantastic. Reeves takes advantage of Matthew Riddle being distracted and hits a backdrop driver, covers Riddle, but only gets two. He connects with he locks in, I should say, a Cobra clutch on Riddle, but Riddle powers out, flips Kona Reeves over into a pinning attempt. Riddle avoids some strikes and counters with some huge palm strikes. Ripcord knee right to Reeves' mouth, elbows to the side of the head, bro mission, and Kona Reeves is dead. Well, not officially. Like, not really. I don't want him to die. I just want him to go back to listening to what kind of music, Chad, what kind of music does Kona Reeves listen to on his white headphones? Let me know. Dream has a microphone, and he said, he basically announces Matt Riddle's victory for the ring announcer, and he calls him Matthew Riddle. And, Riddle sort of, he saunters over, and he takes the goblet, he takes a big sip out of whatever's in it, and he tosses it overhead, and Velveteen Dream took offense to that. When I saw Dream, sprawled out like that on the couch, with the women and the goblet, and being very, very chill, and seeing Matt Riddle going over. Honestly, Dream and Riddle should be getting along. They should be friends. That would work. Next week, we're getting Kairi Sane versus Bianca Belair on the NXT Before Takeover programming note, by the way, unless there's a spectacular turn of events. Next Wednesday, right after NXT UK, of course, I will be doing my 205 Live NXT UK recap, but it will be offered as a free preview for Fightful Select. So everyone will be able to join, you faithful members, but you can also invite your friends, your family, everyone. So that'll be cool. We'll be doing, it's a special event, momentous event that we're doing to celebrate WrestleMania week. And now we reach our main event, the finals of the Dusty Classic, the Forgotten Sons versus Aleister Black and Ricochet. And they all start brawling right as the bell rings. The Forgotten Sons are driven out, though. Black and Blake, though, they start going at it. Blake has Aleister in a standing headlock. The Forgotten Sons, Aleister and Ricochet do a lot of synchronized offense, synchronized head scissors and kicks by Aleister and Ricochet, both on either side of the ring. The baby faces take out the Forgotten Sons to the outside, and then Ricochet goes back into the ring, jumps right back out with a Fosbury flop. Cutler then, who is the legal man, he wants to avoid getting in the ring, but Ricochet and Black cut him off, get him back in. The Forgotten Sons both try to take out Ricochet, but he fights them off. However, a distraction by Jackson Ryker, by the Forgotten Sons allows Jackson Riker to crack Ricochet in the back as he's doing a handspring. So the Forgotten Sons get in control. Blake then hits a big backbreaker on Ricochet, covers him for 2. Forgotten Sons then hit a double team backbreaker, covers Ricochet for 2. Cutler is doing his best to keep Ricochet grounded away from the hot tag as well. And then he hits a rope assisted backbreaker. He covers Ricochet again for 2. Then Forgotten Sons come in for some double team and they do a backbreaker. At this point, I'm like, ugh. Blake covers for 2 again. So then they decide to mix. They being the Forgotten Sons, they decide to mix up the offense, and instead of hitting a backbreaker, they lock in a chin lock. Ricochet fights out, hits the rolling drop kick, back body drop by on Ricochet, but Ricochet lands on his feet. Goes to tag Alistair, but Blake whips him off the apron. A double team on Ricochet doesn't work, and he gets slingshotted right into the corner and tags out to Alistair Black, who comes in with some strikes, leg sweeps, and a sliding knee. Lion salt on both guys of the Forgotten Sons. Covers, but only gets 2. He lifts Cutler for the Black Mass, but Blake interrupts it. Double underhook, backbreaker by on Black by Cutler. Covers, only gets 2. And I mean, it's backbreakers after backbreakers. There's not much to the Forgotten Sons' offense here. If they're pulling everything out for these finals here. Double underhook. No, I said that. Double team follows, but Ricochet interferes. But Ricochet interferes. So basically, the Forgotten Sons have Alistair Black on in a fireman's carry position, and Ricochet then jumps up on the top rope and he flies off of the fireman's carry, basically off of Alistair Black onto and hits his Hurricane Rana like that. It was a nice spot. Black gets out of the fireman's carry. Ricochet hits Cutler, kicks Cutler, but eats a big lariat by Blake. Blake eats a huge springboard Meteora by Alistair Black. Ricochet and Blake then trade some strikes. Blake tries to suplex Ricochet, but Ricochet blocks it. Then Ricochet tries to suplex Blake, and Blake blocks it, and so on and so forth. And this happens a bit until Ricochet uncorks a twisting vertical suplex. Ricochet goes up top, lands on his feet when Blake avoids a Phoenix Splash, tosses him to the outside. Blake then goes up top with Ricochet and hits a nice reverse Frankensteiner, but Ricochet lands on his goddamn feet and Blake is terrified. We are going to move on to the ending here, where let me see here. All right, where Riker gets expelled after Alistair Black avoids a powerbomb gutbuster combo by Blake. Alistair Black puts his leg on the rope, but Jackson Riker comes off to push Alistair's foot off the ropes. The referee sees sees Riker do it, so he tosses him, expels him. So then Alistair Black hits the Black Mass on Cutler, runs to the apron to moonsault off the apron onto Blake on the outside, leaving the Ricochet guy to do a 630. And there you have it, your Dusty Cup winners for 2019. Got to tell you, I was very underwhelmed with the Dusty Cup this year. And not exactly a shining moment. Don't get me wrong, Alistair Black and Ricochet, they work well together. We've seen them a lot as a tag team, though. On Raw and SmackDown, they've been fighting every week, so their signature offense is sort of becoming predictable. I never thought I'd say that kind of stuff about these two guys, but it kind of is. Seeing them here is, well, there's a bit of a ho-hum to it. But it's a great way to get Alistair and Ricochet on TakeOver, don't get me wrong. But the whole Dusty Cup, I mean, Why didn't the Street Profits go further? They're super over. Montez Ford is fantastic. Why didn't Undisputed Era go forward either? Lorcan and Birch. Why did the Forgotten Sons get to the finals? They're not bad, but they're not exciting either. They're not. There are many other much over tag teams in NXT right now. It's really weird. We're finally going to get to see the War Raiders fight anyway at TakeOver. They haven't wrestled on NXT television since the last TakeOver, since Phoenix. What are you going to do about that? Nothing. I'm just going to watch TakeOver. Let's start wrapping this one up. NXT UK starts with my boy, the Irish Ace, Jordan Devlin versus Dan Maloney. Devlin chops Maloney across the chest, tries to take him down, or actually does take him down with an arm drag. Jordan Devlin doesn't try. He just makes things happen. Some more chops follow. Maloney strikes back with chops of his own, runs the ropes, but gets caught in the Uranagi, followed by the standing moonsault. Devlin covers Maloney, but only gets 2. He ground and pounds Maloney into the mat. A reverse elbow takes Maloney down, and Devlin clutches in a Cobra Clutch, I should say. Maloney then fights back with the knee lift. Clotheslines follow. Back body drop, and Devlin rolls to the outside. Your boy Devlin's in trouble. However, he hits a springboard cutter on Maloney, covers him, and only gets 2. Some reverses follow, but Devlin hits a big headbutt and finishes Maloney off with that short arm backdrop driver that I think a few weeks ago he went on Twitter and asked people to name it. Shane Haas in the chat here says Devlin is one of the best in the world, and that is true. Absolutely true. You're getting no arguments to the opposite on my end. I am a big Devlin fan. Cassius Ohno comes out to a promo. He says he wants to explain himself. He says, management asked him to come out and apologize for what he did to Ashton Smith last week, where he fought Ashton Smith and then raised Smith back up to his feet and then beat him down some more. Management says, he wants, management asked him to do a very heartfelt, and he apologizes for his actions to Ashton Smith. I should not have revived him to take him out again, but he doesn't really care because it was really gratifying to do. He says NXT UK made him an offer he couldn't refuse to come over because he could have gone anywhere in the world, right? He's Cassius Ohno. And he calls out Travis Banks, a New Zealander masquerading as a British wrestler, which is very ironic because Cassius Ohno comes over and he's calling himself, a British wrestler, that he loves British strong style, but he's not British himself. I'm all for this, by the way. Travis Banks versus Cassius Ohno, sign me up. That's going to be great. We get a promo package saying that Dave Mastiff is coming back. I was wondering where he had gone to. We haven't seen him in quite a while. We get a Ginny package where she was sent on a trip to India. And in 2 weeks, folks, we're going to get spoiled. Toni Storm versus Ginny. We deserve this match. We deserve Toni Storm versus Ginny. Our next match was sort of set up last week. Xia Brookside versus Rhea Ripley. Last week, Xia was saying that she was tired of bullies. And Rhea's a bully. Rhea Ripley's a big old bully. So Rhea, when she gets to the ring and the match starts, she's being very nonchalant. about Zaya. Very confident. They do a wrist lock exchange. Zaya scoots between Rhea's legs and into a standing headlock, which looked really cool. But Rhea returns the favor and gets her into an arm bar. Brookside then tries to get out, but Ripley slams her down, chokes her over the top rope. Ripley spears Brookside a few times in the corner, hits a stalling suplex, covers Brookside, but only gets 2. She pummels her down with some forearms, double drop kick follows. Double drop kicks follow, but Ripley somehow comes out on top like they do. Let me say that again. They do like a standing drop kick and they both kick each other at the same time. But for some reason, Zaya Brookside ate the worst of it and Ripley stood back up. Commentary saying that it's because Ripley has longer legs. Well, yes, because Rhea Ripley has her legs are longer than her torso. She does have very long legs, but it just looked weird. Brookside battles back with a couple of drop kicks. The third dropkick attempt was supposed to be a reverse, but it was just a wee bit messy. But nonetheless, Brookside hits a bulldog head scissors, double knees to Ripley's back. She goes up top, but Ripley wallops her with the right hand. Some top rope shenanigans ensue. That ends with a dropkick by Brookside, and Ripley is in the tree of woe. She hits a drop kick on Ripley as Ripley is in the tree of woe. Ripley then rolls to the outside. There's a flying body press from the top turnbuckle to the outside on Ripley. A flying lung blower from the top rope by Brookside, which was really cool. Covers Ripley, but only gets 2. Ripley then tosses Brookside to the corner and finishes her off with the Riptide. You know, the blemishes were just that. They were blemishes. Didn't take anything away from the match. This was a fun match. It was a really, really fun match. And Ripley has a microphone, and she says, seriously, hasn't the women's division learned yet? When you step in the ring with me, you get ripped apart. And for all the other women backstage, I am the dominant woman in NXT UK. And, you know, as she said that, I was in complete agreement, but my opinion shifted instantly when music hit and Piper Niven come out, formerly known as Nixon Newell. Piper Niven comes out, and she is looking fantastic. She walks to the ring. Ripley sort of smartly rolls out. She's not having any of this. Says the morals, and Niven just picks up a microphone, says the most dominant women in NXT UK? Not anymore. Ooh, what a fight this is going to be. You kidding me? Piper Niven and Rhea Ripley. Man, that's something I'm looking forward to. Isla Dawn is backstage. She's being asked her opinion about Piper Niven, and she's excited that a fellow Scotswoman is about to join. But Kaylee Ray comes in and says, just because we're from the same country, you think we're going to have a little group of Scottish women? No way, lady. Then we have a package for Walter, hyping that guy up. He's a big guy. He needs to be hyped. Trent Seven is backstage chatting with Rodzi, and basically they set up a match between Trent Seven and Joe Coffey. Then we have Fabian Aichner and Marcel Bartel, who are watching the video montage that we got last week between Kenny Williams and Amir Jordan. You remember the one that I said was kind of stupid? Well, basically Bartel and Aichner are saying it's stupid. It's not funny. It's not entertainment. And the promo saying, Bartel ends the promo saying that the mat is sacred. So it feels like they're setting the European Union up as a couple of very serious, technical, wrestling focused guys. And I'm okay with that. That's the kind of heel I can get behind. I like that kind of little twist, and it works really well for both Martel and Aichner because they are really fantastic. Next, we have our main event of Mark Andrews versus Noam Dar. And straight off the bat, we're going to be, this was a great match until it happened. We'll get to that. There's a bit of back and forth between both Dar and Andrews to begin with. A snapmare by Dar has Mandrews landing on his feet. There's lots of evasion with both men stalemating their way, trying to connect moves on each other, but it's just not happening. A head scissors on Dar follows, and Andrews with an armbar. Andrews goes up on the apron. Leg sweep by Dar follows. Dar drop kicks Andrews to the floor. Dar stays in control, crouches him over the top rope, covers him, but only gets 2. Andrews snapmares. Dar snapmares. Andrews covers him, but Andrews kicks out at 2. Andrews starts to fight back, transitioning out of pin attempts. Excuse me. Transitioning out of pin attempts. Some chops follow. He runs the ropes, hits an enziguri on Dar. Stomp 182 connects, but Dar rolls to the outside. But Andrews just dives onto the outside. Standing corkscrew moonsault follows. Back in the ring, covers Noam Dar, but only gets 2. Dar reverses around and gets an ankle lock on Andrews, who powers out. Dar goes to the outside. Moonsault off the apron onto Dar. Dar gets back into the ring, though. A little later on, Dar interrupts a springboard from Andrews, who falls to the floor. Dar goes after him and flips him into the steel steps. And Andrews' head hits very awkwardly on the ground here. And there is some concern a little later on for his well-being. A little later on, there's a springboard somersault body drop on Noam Dar by Andrews, who covers him but only gets 2, and they start slugging at each other. Andrews gets back on top, but Dar kicks the knee. Combination offense by Dar ends with a backslide by Andrews. Noam Dar hoists Andrews up, who reverses it into a stun dog millionaire, covers but only gets 2. Mandrews. All right. This is the part that is very, very disappointing. Mandrews goes for an inverted Rana on Dar, but it doesn't quite work out. Mandrews slips off without properly applying the move, and he hyper extends Noam Dar's knee, the same knee that Dar had injured and had kept them out for a better part of a year, trying to rehab and get it back into shape. And the ref calls for the X and declares the match a no contest, and Dar gets stretchered out. And Mandrews does as well. They both get stretchered out, and everyone's, sort of wondering why, what happened. And actually, it turns out here that Mark Andrews, they were just afraid that he had been concussed when he was tossed into the steps. They showed the replay a couple of times. His head really bounced off the floor. It wasn't pretty. It was a really nasty move. And as it stands right now, Noam Dar is injured. He's out. There's no word on, there's no timetable on his return. But man, what a bummer for Noam Dar. It was not a pretty injury. And I hope, and I'm sure everyone here hopes as well, especially good folks in the chat, that he gets back soon. So our main event segment is the contract signing for the takeover match between NXT UK champion Pete Dunne and Walter. My question is, why were they announcing the match as part of takeover if the contract hadn't been signed? That's poor business, guys. Management. Johnny Saint, you're the general manager. I know you don't talk much. We're up to 45. You've spoken only 45 words since the beginning of January this year. But man, you at some point, you have to lay the law down. And it's like, well, we don't announce matches unless there's contracts. But Saint and Scala come out. And of course, Scala takes the mic, and he's the one who's talking. Saint just stands there and gets the Johnny Saint chants. Jesus Christ. So this is a big match that the WWE Universe wants. That's what Sid Scala says. And let's all be honest with each other, folks. It is a match that we all want to see. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? So both men are in the ring. They're at the table. Walter, do you have anything to say? Walter reaches for the mic, but he doesn't take it. He just signs the paper. And Dunn then takes the mic and he cuts a promo. And this is weird. It's odd because Pete Dunne he's not usually the guy who cuts promos. And I kind of like the feel of this. It's as if Pete Dunne usually doesn't feel like he has to cut promos, like he has the upper hand on his opponents. The fact that he's doing it here, trying to talk some smack at Walter, trying to get into his head, I find that very interesting. I think it's a very, very interesting setup that maybe Pete Dunne is a little spooked here. That he's not on top of, that he's not completely in control here. So I liked it. Ends by saying I'm the Bruiserweight and NXT UK belongs to me and the championship will always be mine. He signs the contract. Dunn starts to walk away, but then Walter speaks. He says, Peter, don't look at me like that. I could reach over, grab you, and put you through the table. He doesn't talk like that. I'm just actually, he doesn't have much of an accent. As far as a big, lofty Austrian, you'd think he'd have like a big, gravelly accent, but no, he doesn't. But he says in NYC, the reign of the Bruiserweight will come to an end because this title is his. And we are all looking forward to this match. And Johnny Saint did not say a single word this episode. We are still at 45 words spoken so far by the general manager of NXT UK. Johnny Saint's not going to go down in history as one of the great WWE GMs. He will not. Why don't they make Paige GM? She's British. She was good. Well, folks, we're going to wrap this one up. We're done for the evening. And I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you had a good time. I sure did. I want to thank you again for supporting Fightful, for being a member. And if you liked what you see here, why don't you tell other people about it? Tell other folks about all the great stuff you have here on Fightful Select. And we're going to keep adding stuff. Select is growing. It's going like crazy. So we are going to keep adding more and more stuff. It'll be fantastic. So WrestleMania weekend's coming up. Next week, don't forget, 205 Live, NXT UK recap show will happen immediately after NXT UK, and it will be live for everyone to see. So talk about it. Make sure we get a lot of people. Let's have 7 million people watching at once, and Sean will have a heart attack. Folks, thank you very much for watching. Follow me on Twitter, Mr. Warren Hayes, if you're not doing it already, and I'll see you next time.